Hello, hello, and welcome to. I got the in time $400 suit, but I was just like, I gotta wear something, and I couldn't find my downtime thing, so I'm. That's it. I've got the. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, all things considered.
So, let's see. So, Doorknob had said, actually, I didn't get this up, but we've got the, okay, so where is it? Here we go. So, that didn't come up, but Stella Havisham, you look great, Nick. Thank you. And then, oh no, I'm on the internet right now. Better take off my pants. First of all, that's how this suit only costs $200. I say it's a $400 suit, but the secret is I only had to pay $200 because, well, at any rate, as long as I don't get up, it's not a problem. And then, but that was Gavin. There was a debate. A buddy of mine was in a debate with a guy named Gavin. And it was on religion, and the debate was over. They were in the green room, but the guy gets up, and it turns out he's just like naked.
So, oh
no! And so Gavin has now become a verb. And it's like, oh, you've been Gavined. Oh, he Gavined you. He's it's and Aaron Colson has become a member, so thank you so much for joining. We really appreciate that. Pantsless Gavin, yeah, Titan was modding that stream. Oh my god. Well, and what was it? I hate getting up just because now I'm just worried about it. But I was saying earlier, I was on another channel, and I got up and went out to close the window. And this set behind me, this is all real. And I freaked everyone out because they thought it was a green screen, and they were making fun of me earlier because I was trying to set up a green screen. They're like, don't you already have one set up? I was like, no, I don't have one set up, but they wanted me to take out my background. I was like, you know how much time I spent on this? But fine, I'll take out the background. I'll do a green screen. They're like, just change your green screen. I don't have one. So I go back there, but it's like most of the stuff there, like everything in that shelf, I've got something from every country I've visited. I've got like all this, and every now and then I'll go back there to get like, so I got my ACLU card and everything else over there. But yeah, anyway.
It's far more impressive than what I have in my background.
Well, and you're wearing your $400 sweatshirt, which yep, there you go.
Yes. I hope you're impressed. This is my formal one. It only has 2 stains from drop food on it. I
will say, I noticed, and I thank you.
I appreciate it. I'm touched.
And we're streaming to my ISP. So I was doing bandwidth tests. We were having all these things. The wife works from home a lot now, so if she's like doing her thing and I got to stream, it's difficult. So I was doing all the tests, and I was just like, well, wait a minute. It looks like our bandwidth is half of what it should be. It's always been half of what it should be, but I thought we were on a different plan, all this other stuff. So I go call them up, and they say, well, there's something wrong with their modem. So they go, they check it out, boom, fixed it. We've doubled the bandwidth. So now we're sending a much cleaner signal to YouTube. Hopefully the image is nicer. I think that's going to be. Yep.
I'll say this about it. This is the first time I've actually been able to read the text stream going up the side of the screen.
Well, and that's so you get the. This is what I tell every guest. It's the same joke.
2 stains McMillan. 2 sheds Jackson.
We give the guests, because we have to send two copies of the stream. We have to send one to YouTube, and we have to send one to the guests so they can see what's going on. So, but the guests get like the shitty version, because it's like, yeah, we know you guys will put up with it. We got to send a really good version to YouTube. So this is the first time you've gotten like a full HD version sent to you. So, and you were out for a while, so your computer died, and
Oh, the tragic tale.
Well, I was going to call you up and
I was getting an error message saying that I had too much data and I needed to get rid of some stuff so I could continue doing whatever it was I was doing. So I started looking for things to delete, and let's get rid of this and this. And then I saw Dropbox, and I said to myself, I haven't used Dropbox in about 3 or 4 years. Let's dump that, because it uses up a hell of a lot of memory on the drive.
Mm-hmm.
I popped it into the trash bin, and the next thing I know, poof, the computer locked itself out. Uh-oh.
No.
Now you're camouflaged.
Now I'm camouflaged, apparently.
Oh, we can actually. I can green screen. I can probably pull out the whole thing except your head.
Yeah. No. This was my uniform from when I was in Kuwait and Bahrain.
I got you something. Uh-oh. Yeah. Well, you had said, so, we missed you last time. And we're like, oh, okay, do you want to come back and do another downtime? And like, oh, you mean like our fireside chats? And I was just like, yeah, the fireside chats. And so I decided, there you go.
Fireside.
Oh, yeah. So, and then what we got to do here is...
warm myself by the fire.
Oh, well, we'll get that going, and we can even get... there you go. If you're real quiet, you can
just
hear the fire.
Just don't put on Christmas carols. It's way too early. Gotta wait another month for that, dude.
Oh, no, apparently not. We just got the Halloween decorations up, and I'm already seeing Christmas stuff around.
The joke around here is we skipped the whole pumpkin spice season and went straight into eggnog.
Oh, dear Lord. I don't know if that's just commercialism and or I don't. People are just not patient. It's like, I want free stuff. I want it now, and that's what Christmas is about. I don't know. At this point, we have so many holidays too. We just keep adding shit. And there was wasn't Dennis Leary? I forget who it was. Somebody was lamenting just how many holidays there are, and just celebrating. We have to find cause to.
Somebody was asking about this online. See?
Oh, so that really was. There you go. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. Hold on, Nick. I can.
No, it's not mop gear. Funny story about mop gear. Ask me about that after we're done with this. And
all right, hold on a second. I'm gonna. There you go. Put you up real big.
Yeah. There we go. And on the other side, it of course says, "Ta-da!"
Oh.
Hard to orient it.
Yeah, there you go. We can see it.
Yeah. And my SWO pin.
So, tell the story now.
Okay, so I was assigned as liaison officer at 5th Fleet headquarters in Bahrain. And this is for all the preparatory stuff leading up to the actual invasion of Iraq. And because there was a threat, you may remember the ostensible reason for us invading is because Saddam was hiding mass quantities of chemical and other WMD weapons. So one of the things we had to do is do a once every, I think it was supposed to be once a month, training session where we would, have to don our mop gear. Except the head of the particular section that I was attached to always found some very important reason to be out of the office when it was time to do the mop gear training. So one night after the war started, we actually got an inbound missile warning. Now, it wasn't headed towards us. It was actually just an errant missile that went out over the Gulf. But because we were a Navy command, it alerted us because we were Navy, even though we were nowhere near in range or on the trajectory of the missile. But the warning came in, so everybody had to don mop gear. Well, our boss is there, and he's never gone to any of the training sessions, has no idea how to put on his mop gear. So we're all, quickly donned in and figuring this was an actual potential attack. And about 2 or 3 minutes into this, we're all sitting there at our desks in little tents waiting for, either take ready shelter and all clear. And he comes hopping out of his office, and he's all tangled up, and he falls over, help me, screaming. And we all burst out laughing because he's not putting on his mop gear. He's trying to put on his sleeping bag. He didn't even know the difference.
How quickly did we take her? I'm suddenly much more impressed with how much we actually got done. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh dear Lord. All right, let me see. So I was gonna. What was somebody else? Yeah, the limited editions pumpkin spice Cheerios are quite good. Thank you, Chair. Oh, let's see. So there was. You know what? My brain is fried. I can't remember. Well, no, I know there was a couple of different things. I mean, I didn't. You had mentioned this earlier. Your wife gave you the thing, so I was like, I guess she's forgiven you for leaving her stranded in the deck. But
yeah, I don't want to go over that.
Okay,
that's a little embarrassing.
Sorry. All right. So I wanted to say. So somebody had also suggested we did a show on COVID yesterday, and whether it's going to get better or worse or what's happening. And one of the sort of general consensus, and I've heard this from several different places, is that it's going to continue sort of limping along, sort of half measures until we get something really bad, either a really bad variant of COVID or something else comes along. Mm-hmm. And we've seen it happen. What is it? 1918, the so-called Spanish flu, so on and so forth. But I was actually, and I wasn't trying to be like poetic, but I was thinking, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times, it was the age of ignorance, and the age of reason. And what Dickens was trying to say there was that every generation always thinks it's the worst time. Everybody's always like, oh my God, it's never been this bad, and we're hearing so much of that across the board. And
just study the slightest bit of history from anything, say, 100 years ago or further. It's like, dude, you're not living anything close to the worst of times.
Well, I mean, life expectancy is still, for the most part, as high as it's ever been in the 100,000 year history of the human species, and then we've got more free time than we've ever had, and not just Americans, but for the human race as a whole, the average amount of free time that we have has gone up. The amount of things that we can do with that free time has gone up. So going forward, there's a lot of people who are really pessimistic and who say, well, we are on a downslide. It's going to continue. Things are going to get really worse. If Trump wins again, I might join that group. But I don't know. What are your thoughts? Are you like overly pessimistic? What do you think of the trajectory of things as a whole?
Specific to the by-election here, or the midterms, rather. Just the future in general.
Future in general.
Okay. I actually think things will get a little bit worse, and then will get significantly better. I think that we're heading into one of those periods where the crisis will occur and everybody's going to be, oh, it's all coming to an end. And then that crop of miraculous leaders somehow emerge on the scene and get everything back on track for the majority of the people. So I'm cautiously optimistic, but also at the same time, in the short term, somewhat pessimistic, if that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. Well, you sound a little bit like my dad, too. I remember I was talking to him in 2008, And the first thing I'd like to point out about 2008 is I don't think most people realize how close we came to losing the whole thing. The U.S. was actually very nearly wiped out. With absolutely no economy, the government fails, we rebuild somehow. I mean, countries have done it before, but we were within 24 hours of that. If Bush hadn't have done TARP, my thinking, well, oh, what? I'm sorry.
I said yes.
Oh, okay. If Bush, it sounded like you had cut out and you were mid-sentence. And if Bush hadn't have done TARP, I think the United States, as we know it, would have ended. And it would have been really, really bad. Came through, got it done, John McCain notwithstanding. And but my father had said this, which was businesses, the economy, so on and so forth. There's always these troubles happening, but actually it's a much harder ship to sink than people realize, because once it looks like it's going to sink, it's all hands on deck, and people really you start to see what people can do that they haven't been doing up until that point. Nobody wants to see the U.S. go under. Nobody wants to see, AIG, major corporations responsible for running the world economy, go under. It doesn't mean they won't, but it's a lot harder to do, and when it looks like it's happening, very rarely does it actually. Is that actually where we're at? I don't know. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. Yes, it does. No. There's always the background series of minor crises, which at the time everybody always assumes are, existential crises, which they're not. And when the real existential crises pop up, everybody gets lost in details and doesn't quite realize it until it's too late and events start steamrolling in a way that you don't have any control. And it takes the right people to arise in leadership positions at those times to save things.
We've had you on to talk about what's going on in Ukraine a lot, and some of it's been pretty dark stuff. How do you cope with? We all have to do it to some extent, right? I mean, we're in the U.S. We're like in the richest country in the world at the easiest time to be an American. But you look at so much suffering, countries where people are starving to death, where people don't have what we have. And then you take a look at what's going on.
Where missile strikes are hitting all your power generation, that kind of stuff.
And then, yeah, exactly. So, I've noticed that when we talk about it, I can sort of shut some of that off. And I feel guilty doing that, right? Because I was just like, these are people, and I'm starting to get to know 𝗏𝗏𝗏 well. I really like 𝗏𝗏𝗏, but a part of me is just like, okay, you got to shut it off because you have to ask these questions and the premise for me asking them and having these discussions is that it helps everybody the more we see and the more we know what's going on out there. But it's not. How do you reconcile that with realizing that these are people that you're talking about and sort of just going over the numbers? And I say that as a guy who's doing the same thing and trying to wrap my head around it.
Oh, no, I totally get what you're saying. There used to be in journalism back in the day, and I'm talking, 1900s, 1910, 1920, there was a joke in British press of one Brit, 10 frogs, or 1,000 wogs. Wogs being a derogatory term for non-Europeans. And that was the argument of what was a newsworthy thing to report on. So if one Brit died, it was worth reporting. If 10 Frenchmen died, or Germans or whatever, some European, it was worth reporting on. And if you had, 100, 200 people die in some tragedy in India or Africa, who cared? You had to reach that 1,000-person threshold before it was worth reporting on. And I think, to some extent, Americans view the world through that same kind of prism. We get all upset when somebody steals the neighbor's car, and it gets on the news, and we're all, oh my goodness, and and there are gradations of it. So if it's my neighbor, I'm really worried. If it's somebody in the big city, 60, 100 miles away, yeah, it's interesting. If it's on the other side of the country, I'm here in Washington. If it's something in Florida, why do I really care? But yeah, I'll watch it. And by the time it gets to Europe, and we're talking war in Ukraine, probably, I would say 50% of the American population literally does not care one iota. They're far more interested in the sports scores than they are about how the war in Ukraine is progressing. And it's what is immediate to us personally that becomes something that's worth discussing and paying attention to and studying. So
there's so much going on in the world. There has to be some metric by which you judge how you're going to filter it. Is proximity, do you think, a good one, or is it off? Is that it doesn't seem right, but I'm not sure that it's entirely wrong, if that makes any sense. I'd like Americans to be more aware of it, but I think maybe that's a separate issue. Yeah.
I think a lot of people use that as the metric, which is proximity.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a faulty metric, because I think a more reasonable, intelligent metric is how important it is in the greater context. So if somebody starts reporting on Ebola in Africa, and you're going, well, nobody in the United States has died, so why should I care? I'm far more interested in whether the Jets got into the Super Bowl or not. I think that's a skewed, unrealistic, and honestly stupid worldview. To me, you need to look at the potential for something being a good or bad impact on you, your family, your community, your state, your country, what have you. And I think for a lot of Americans, that makes them uncomfortable, because we have traditionally lived behind the safety of these two giant oceans. And the world doesn't impact us. So we've been able to go through life with our horse blinders on. Whereas people who live in, say, Europe, they're surrounded by all of these other countries that literally butt up right against you, that, tomorrow morning the Germans could wake up and decide it's time to invade again. So you have to pay attention to what's going on in the world. And I think that's one of the big differences. There's also, because we've essentially got a whole continent to ourselves, we are not entirely, but more or less resource independent. We don't necessarily have to concern ourselves with, do we have an adequate supply of iron or copper or coal or petroleum or what have you? Because for the most part, we have what we need within confines of our borders. You can't say that in a lot of other countries. And I think that's one of the reasons that foreigners tend to have, I think, a much broader and more deep understanding of the world around them than your average Joe in the street here in the States.
All right, Sinister Porpoise, 199. Thank you, Porpoise, for your support. As always, it is greatly appreciated. Thank you. Few people realize YouTube pays more than teaching. It's certainly, I've said this. It's only like half a joke. It's not even half a joke. It's like it's a reality that's funny, which then makes it depressing. Which is I have a 12-year-old daughter who. I've said this story before. She wants to do a gaming channel, and she wanted it to be on in time. Mm-hmm. So she said, can I do a gaming channel on in time? And she's like, oh, sweetheart, I'd love to. It would be great. But, on in time on our brand, everything has to be, time. It has to be something time. So we really can't do it. She goes, oh, we'll call it playtime.
Playtime.
So It's like, but so.
It was so obvious to me.
You'd think it didn't register until after I was proud, outwitted by my 12-year-old, but and she's dead serious about it, and she's doing theater, and she's having a blast, and she's actually really good at that kind of thing. But of the top 10 YouTubers, the average age is, I think now it's gone up to 21. The average age was 17. Like 4 years ago, and the top YouTuber when we first started like really looking at this, because we did a whole series of shows on it, the top YouTuber was a 14-year-old boy who did unboxing videos, and it's just opening up the videos, and he had earned I think $41 million in 1 year. So that's. Yeah, so I'm sitting there going, what am I doing within time? Put my daughter to work, and boom, we'll be. Well, yeah, but Porpoise isn't wrong, and certainly baseball players and all that, and we'll get into that because I think I don't know how you. I do believe in free markets. I'm not a socialist, so I don't know how you flip the script so that the science is valued. I think if people thought about it, I've gotten into this with a number of usually conservatives, usually in the South, who sit there and say no food, no farms, no food. It's like, okay, that's true, but then again, where do you get the pesticides that you use, and how do you and are you a fan of the military? Who do you think made the armor on a Abrams tank? That's the ivory tower elites. I'm sorry, but that's who sat down and figured out how to make the alloys that repel bullets off a tank. So no ivory tower elites. No U.S. either. But dear Lord, I lost my train of thought. I apologize. I don't usually look at the live chat too often.
See, if you'd stuck with steam-powered engines instead of those damn diesels, you wouldn't have lost the train.
Yep. Exactly. So, I think, boys and girls, just to be clear, internal combustion is a terrible thing. I think we've all learned something. Right. Thank you all for joining us. So, no, it was the Porpoise's super chat on teachers make, and YouTube doesn't necessarily pay well. It depends on.
I have to interrupt. Somebody just posted a caboose only on a train. My father owns a caboose.
Like a full caboose.
Yes, a real one.
How did that happen?
It is the guest. It's his guest house.
That's actually kind of cool.
Yeah, they remodeled it and everything inside, and it has its own little bathroom, and it's really cool. It's the first all-steel caboose on the Burlington Northern Road.
How did he get it?
Well, it had a fire, and they were just disposing of it, and he was talking to somebody about, wanting to put in a small guest house building, and they said, well, why don't you do this? And my father's always been a huge train fanatic, so bang. He bought it for some ridiculously small amount, and then spent a couple of years remodeling the thing. It's really cool.
All right, so let's see here. We've got a super chat 1999 from somebody. I can't even really hold on. I can't quite read that name. Somebody who couldn't afford the extra penny, apparently. In 1999. I just hold on. Let me just Titan. Do you have the name there? No, you can't read that either. No, I'd like to read it on air. I mean, it's a super chat. Presumably it's somebody who's worth, giving credit to, presumably. No? You don't have it? All right, thanks. If you figure out who it is, just let me know. All right, thank you. All right, so now we have a super chat 1999 from somebody. Sincerest apologies. We appreciate you supporting the show. We will try to get to you on that as soon as our system clears up there. But thank you for your support. whoever you are. So, anyways, I was about to say, thank God he doesn't know my home address, and then I realized he does. So, he's got like 6 AR-15s, but at any rate, so what makes you say? Because I got two different avenues to explore here. So I'll start with what makes you at least reasonably confident that things will get a little worse and then get better.
I think they're going to get worse because if you look at the way things are, both domestically within the United States and internationally, what's going on outside the U.S., I think the trends are obvious that there's enormous amount of division, animosity towards the other, regardless of who you decide the other is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think more and more wealth is being concentrated in the hands of a very tiny few people. And it's causing a lot of problems for those at the bottom, not just in this country, but everywhere. And I think that what we're going to have, because I think a lot of these international tensions that are going on, in other words, say China and the Taiwan thing, or Russia against Ukraine, or what have you, all of these pressures are in some degree all about the same kind of concentration of power into the hands of just a tiny few, whether you want to call them autocrats, oligarchs. It's basically going back to an old model of a monarchy as what rules, except in this case it's not necessarily hereditary, it's simply an economic monarchy. It's the guy with the most money gets to make the rules to favor himself. And I think that's why it's going to get worse, because they're going to continue to put those kind of pressures on the system just so they can get more and more and more. There's a point where the greed becomes meaningless. It's just that is who and what they are, is the greed. And I think that's why it's going to get worse. I think it's going to get better because at some point people are going to wake up and say, it's not the Republicans who are the problem. It's not the Russians who are the problem. It's not the Chinese who are the problem. It's not, whoever. It's all of these people who have put themselves in a socioeconomic standing that says, we're not bound by the same rules as the rest of you, and we can change the rules to suit ourselves at any moment. We can never be held accountable. And I think people are eventually going to just come to the point where they say, screw that, you are. And your head on this spike is proof that you are. And I think once that happens, then things are going to start getting better. We're going to be able to start focusing on real problems and solving them, as opposed to dancing to some idiot who controls the noosphere telling us what the imaginary problem du jour is.
All right. And our co-host has showed up. Xandring, how are you? It's been a while. How have you been?
I know. I thought I would remind you for just a moment the next time you accidentally can't read my generous offering of $19.99.
Wait, that was you?
Jump in at any time and just say,
do I get a sham wow with that?
But wait, there's more.
Ooh, I'm all a quiver.
Now how much will you pay?
Oh, okay. Now that you've reminded me that you do have immediate access to the green room, which is, we may have to look at our internal procedures there. I was thinking out loud on that one.
Oh yeah, you absolutely definitely should.
Oh yeah. So, it is. It's from a Xandering person. Just so Nick has to acknowledge me on this show too. I'm a little hurt that you thought I wasn't going to, or that I wouldn't have. We would have fixed the technical problems. I'm just.
I'm sure you would have. I'm sure you were right on top of that. Our awesome, excellent, extremely well-paid producer was in there making sure they could clear it up. I'm sure.
Our technical staff.
Yes, our technical staff. I had Titan working on it. I can't actually talk to him during the show, but nobody knew that until I said it. Yeah, would have got it sorted. It's like
you could use semaphore.
Semaphore. Smoke signals is usually how, and then he gets back to me, and oh dear Lord. Oh well, Xander, you're here. So you know what? Any thoughts on the subject? I have to acknowledge your existence. I am not actually contractual because we have to read the super chats aloud, and now I've read it, so now I'm like contractually obligated. So any thoughts on the topic or anything else that you wanted to shoot the shit about? Oh yeah. Now that it's actually like maybe doing his job, which with
he's sulking.
Yeah. All right.
His feelings.
Okay. He's muted. Excuse me. And he knows he's muted. So there may be he just got out. Oh, there he is. Hey, how are you?
Hey. You just had this lovely fireside chat here, and you were sitting together. It was going so well. I didn't want to ruin the jive, but then somebody couldn't read English and had to make a jab at the 1999. Go yell at Apple. They're the ones that do it. For some reason, they won't let me do $20 on Apple. It's all $9.99, $10.99, $15.99. Yeah, they're all $99. I don't know. I don't get it. It's weird.
Can you do 98?
No. I can't seem to get it to...
That is freaky weird.
I know. I can't seem to, click on it and make it change to a custom, like on my Google phone. I could just click on the number. I could put any number I wanted to. I could put $6.66, which I love to do a lot too. But I can do that on this one. Or at least I'm not smart enough yet, I guess. Maybe there is a way. I just don't know what it is.
Wonder if that has to...
phone.
I wonder if that has to do... Yeah, because I remember that now, that on the Mac, for some reason, they've got that limitation, and on, like, if you do it through just a browser, it doesn't have it. I'm wondering if that has to do with the pricing structure, because they take 30%. 30% of anything that comes in off an app from Apple, you have to pay Apple, whoever you are, if that just to use the Apple Store. So I'm wondering if something about that 30% means that they round it that way. Oh, that's a good question. Oh dear Lord! So is Andering? We were talking yesterday about how bad things are gonna get. You pointed out that things could get a lot worse. And McMillan was saying that he's I think cautiously optimistic that things will start to get worse and then they'll get better. My hope is they don't get worse with Trump being elected, but and in fact I don't even see a route to that. But been wrong before. I don't know. What do you think? I
think that's the old adage. Good times create weak people. Weak people. I'm modifying it slightly to be more PC correct for today's world because there's women in it too. So good times create essentially lazy and complacent people. Weak people create bad times. Bad times create good people. It's a circular thing. It's happened all through history. So eventually, things will get bad enough. I mean, how bad they get, I don't know, but it'll eventually hit a tipping point, and we'll either wisen up and fix a bunch of shit, like we'll have those great set of leaders arise out of the chaff and really be able to fix things, and you'll have the support of the people behind them, and they can really do a lot of good things. Or things may completely collapse. Rome collapsed. There's still Romans. We call them Italians now. But
both
life went on. Yeah. So it will go. We don't know what it'll look like, but things can get really bad, and generally out of that really badness, we kind of wake up, pull our collective heads out of our asses, talking about the human race, and we make things better again. So it's just, where do you live on that scale? Because these scales generally take centuries to complete instead of just somebody's lifetime.
Yeah, fair enough.
So we're actually concerned with how bad is it going to get before we hit that point where things start getting better again.
Yeah.
Will that happen in our lifetime or in our children's lifetime?
So do you think it looks like the Conservatives are going to maybe take back at least the House, if not the House and Senate, and that they will withdraw funding for or support, at least some support, if not all, for Ukraine? You guys think that that's going to happen? And if so, what happens after that?
I am not as confident that they're going to take back the House as a lot of the polling numbers say. I think polls lately have become far less accurate and predictive because they tend to rely on numbers that are proven to have been respondents before, and they tend to rely primarily on landlines rather than cell phones to do their polling. So it's almost like it's a design process to validate what older, more conservative voters believe. I know my son hasn't lived at our house for several years. We get at least 2 to 3 calls from a polling organization looking to connect with him because they want to get the younger demographic. And I think that a lot of younger people pre-screen all their calls already. They don't reflexively just, oh, the phone, I have to answer it. They look at it and say, who the hell's that? I don't want to talk to them. And that's it. So I'm not sure about the accuracy of these polls that are predicting it's going to be a turnaround. I don't doubt that the Dems may lose a little bit of ground, but I don't think they're going to lose the House. I'm similarly not as convinced that the Senate is not within distance for the Democrats to take at least a narrow control of. So that's where I sit on that particular issue. I also think the Republicans are, at least looking at 24, very divided against themselves because you have feuding factions that are looking at, we have the group that wants Trump back. We have the others that are saying, oh my God, he's destroying the party. We can't have him back. We've got to find somebody else. And the somebody else's are all sniping at one another because they're jockeying for position, assuming that the party hierarchy is going to say, nah, we're done with Trump, so we got to find somebody else. So I don't know how much of a threat that's going to be in 24 either.
Any thoughts, Xandring? I think it's going to take him a minute to get his mute. He wasn't planning to stream today. I was being an ass. He came in to. I know. It's entirely my fault. I'll take the hit. I was being an ass.
Sorry, my hands were full. I was in the store with my hands full, and I was listening to this lovely conversation. I said, any thoughts? Whole wheat or white, sweetened or unsweetened tea. Those are kind of my thoughts right now.
Okay.
Which are not bad thoughts by any stretch of the imagination.
Not well, considering it. I've got to figure it out if I want to figure out if I'm going to eat.
Well, context
would
matters,
say,
but
yeah. Well, I decided I was going to pick up dinner while I was over here. So I don't know. I agree that the polling has not been particularly accurate the last little while. The thing that concerns me is, and I'm seeing it on both sides, is both the Democratic Party and the Republican Party are kind of more or less saying, well, if we don't win, then there's chicanery afoot with the elections, and they're not secure. We're already seeing problems with some of these, like there's been some armed people that were sitting at drop boxes to just stare at people. There's been a couple of altercations, and so yeah, there's been some interesting things going on, and I'm worried because we're losing at the very least, we're losing the appearance or the belief that our election system is more or less accurate and is more or less secure, and that would be a really bad thing, because once you lose one of those perceptions, you don't really have a republic anymore. So because now nobody's going to accept votes on anything, and it just causes huge numbers of problems. I mean, that's a good way to collapse a republic.
Very true.
So how do we restore that? I mean, my thinking, but I suspect that this is naive and unrealistic. My thinking is that the way to restore that is, charge Trump, convict him, and expose as much of this as possible. And then he spends the rest of his life in house arrest with his company completely, utterly obliterated, which it looks like New York is going to take a real stab at doing. But does that turn him into a martyr? How do you recover faith in something like this? Trust once broken is much harder to get back.
Absolutely. I think Trump going into prison, house arrest, what have you, something where he's being held accountable for his various crimes and misdemeanors, is essential to taking that first step towards restoring faith in the system. The trouble is, what one side, or arguably two sides of the triad that represent American politics, may see as that being appropriate, we know that the MAGA extreme will not see it as appropriate. They will see it as a betrayal of trust. And we go into, as I've mentioned before, the potential of a civil war scenario.
Is Andring, any thoughts on how to bring that trust back? You in particular have seen people on that extreme. You've people who are in the preppers communities. People who are on the far right. Is there any way to bring them back, or is it? I mean, I was thinking essentially osmosis. Trump's in jail, and eventually they're like, yeah, we may have gone a little too far on that one, but that's just time and as much getting accurate information out there as possible. Is there any other way?
Well, any of these kinds of malfeasance that go on, all of the things that are kind of more or less ignored, they're improper, or at least appear improper. And this is one of the reasons why I'm all for prosecuting Trump, to the fullest extent of whatever they can prove. Even if all they can prove is, perjury, they need to do it, because we need to step up. There's a generalized kind of view of, there's two kinds of sets of rules. There's rules for the government, and then there's rules for everyone else. And that needs to end. And that needs to be ended very visibly, and it needs to be ended on both sides. So then this is what's going to make it so difficult to do, because, the Democrats are perfectly willing to try and hold Trump to the fire and say, hey, you did these things are illegal. And, but they're not so willing to kind of go after their own party as harshly as they're going after Trump. They will, but they kind of let a lot of stuff slide. And you have the reverse problem with Democrats, or with Republicans too. So you've got that issue, and that needs to stop. If you want to gain the trust back, if there's allegations of chicanery, one of the things I would do too is, I know we live in the modern world. Why don't we have vote by mail or vote online or whatever? One of the ways, I think one of the only ways that we're going to be able to stop this is you're going to have people show up and voting in person. You're going to have to be able to show ID to prove that you are who you say you are. And all of these things are like, oh, these are horrible Republican talking points. And it's like, but they have a point. There's especially with things like, Dinesh D'Souza's film of 20,000 mules or whatever, 2,000 mules. Now you've got a set of people out there that are convinced that all of these malfeasances are going on, whether they are or not, even if it's been disproven that or there isn't sufficient evidence to actually make, or prove the case that's being made. You still have a whole set of people out there that believe it. So you're going to have to spend quite a lot of time fixing, at the very least, the appearance of impartiality and accuracy in our voting system. And that's going to be really hard to do, and it's going to require a lot of steps that a lot of people are not going to be happy with. But you have to do it, or it's just going to continue. You're going to break into more factions, and those factions will become more entrenched, and it'll come down to neither side particularly cares about what the actual evidence says. You have your camp, and you're going to get stuck in it. Some people will care about what the evidence says, but not enough to make a difference. So there has to be a really visible effort made to try and do this, or it's just going to get worse.
All right. Well, I think I'm going to wrap it up. It's we're coming up on the hour. It feels like it was a shorter show, but I'm also a little wiped, and so I think unless anyone else had anything specific that they wanted to hit on before we go, it's been a great conversation. We're going to also have Operator Starsky tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern, and I think he's going to have a lot to talk about. We're going to figure out what's for those of you who haven't seen Operator Starsky. He is an officer in the Ukrainian National Guard. He was on the front lines. They pulled him back to Kyiv because he's good at communications, and they needed him there. But he is really up to it. Just about everywhere there is somewhere along the front line. So we're going to talk to him tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern. But did either of you have any thoughts on anything that we've talked about, or just cream, sugar, whatever it is that you wanted to mention before we go?
Not really. I think we've covered most stuff. I will try to be there tomorrow, so I can join in and ask some pertinent questions.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
I guess my final thought is, how long do you need to nuke a quart of chili before it's sufficiently heated, but not so overheated that it starts, if you overcook something in a microwave, it tends to get like rock hard and not taste very good. So I want to find that balance on some random Amana commercial microwave. Could you...
See, there's the problem, is that it's the microwave itself, because none of them seem to be calibrated to the same settings as any others.
I know.
So what works on one machine will definitely not work on the other.
And as a connoisseur of... Oh, there goes my dang... The whole lid just blew off my soup. And as a connoisseur and tester of... I don't know how many thousands of microwaves across the entire country. I think I've used a microwave in every single state in this country. Yeah, I can never get it right. It's like it's either cold in the middle or it's burnt and crusty around the edges.
But have you tested microwaves in the territories?
Oh, yeah. Alberta, British Columbia, Saskatchewan.
No. Those are
Absolutely
provinces. Those are not territories.
Northwest Territories, Yukon.
Well, there's one there, but I'm referring to like Guam and American Samoa and
just Guam.
Okay.
Diego Garcia, but that's a teeny tiny.
That's Biot. That's not American.
Do you see the ego inflate there? You see, McMillan. Oh, I've tried microwaves in Guam. How about you? Yeah, okay. We all know about your expertise
No,
with
the
microwaves.
only one I would have been the only one I've actually been to is what's the one in the Caribbean? I'm blanking all of a sudden.
The Virgin Islands,
Virgin
or,
Islands.
Puerto
Islands,
Rico, or okay, yeah. Well, Puerto Rico's not in, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's technically in the Caribbean, and it's territory of the United States.
Yep.
For all
right.
So, I've been to Guam and to Diego Garcia, and that's it. Hawaii. I mean, if you want to call that.
Well, it's a state.
I know, but not really.
Oh, well, the hate mail will be flowing soon.
You have been demonetized for the next 90 days. So thank you.
No problem. Aren't you glad that you had technical difficulties and couldn't read my name on the super chat?
You have been avenged. I will never make that mistake again. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a Xandering Person, co-host on In Time.
You have failed me for the last time.
Oh, dear Lord. I'm sorry. I will talk about, you know what, I'll double your pay. I think is what I think that'll make me feel better. I'll sleep better at night.
All right. 2.5 times pay and I'll forget it.
You know, I think I can do that. All right. And Porpoise is getting me in trouble with Titan now too. I'll have to do that with Titan. It's just, it's a revolution. You were right, McMillan. Things are just heading south, man. I just don't even know how to deal with it anymore, man. Oh,
the oligarchs are taking over.
Yeah. On In Time, I'm the oligarch. I don't understand. I want to stay, but apparently it's revolution time. All right. Thank you all for joining us. Again, we're going to have, Commander McMillan will be back next week, probably for another downtime. I think I like the fire. I think I'm going to keep it.
Actually, next week, Thursday. Yep, I can do Thursday.
All right. Well, listen. And as Xandering, I had suggested this to you: is just do a show. I'll produce it, and it'll be the two of you guys, and the two of you guys can shoot the shit. But we'll figure it out. We'll do something. So that'll be a week from today. Yeah, we're gonna keep the fire, and I'm gonna make we're making a few changes now that we got a little extra bandwidth, which is nice. And then tomorrow, Starsky for his regular position, 1 p.m. Eastern. That'll be every week, I think, until things change over there. Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, we will have Starsky on to update us on what is going on in Ukraine. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Sinister, so much for your super chats. Xandering, thank you for your support of the show. And people, anyone who's been around for a long time knows that Xandering has supported the show in many ways. Me personally, no, he disagrees with fucking everything I say, and we have to debate about guns and all this other shit. But the show, always been a huge supporter of the show. So thank you, Xandering and Commander McMillan. Thank you once again for joining us. We sincerely appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Good night, all, and see you tomorrow. Oh, I forgot the board's dead. There's always something. I was just telling you that the board was dead too, and of course, like an idiot, I forgot because hey, things.
Shh, don't tell anybody.
Yeah. What? We have to fire the producer.
I popped up.
Yeah,
absolutely. I agree. Putting up a dang tweet. Jeez, I don't even tweet. I don't Twitter much, man. Putting up a super chat and making it illegible. Damn him.
We'll have to. We're going to get to the bottom of that, Xandering. I'm going to spend all my time next year.
You're overdoing
trying to figure that out.
You're overdoing it. Yeah, you're overdoing it.
All right.
Tone it down a little bit. Make it a little bit more believable.
There is nothing I could do to make it believable. I lost credibility on that one like an hour ago. All right. Night all. Thanks.